Hello, and this is a session where we're discussing Dear Extraterrestrials. Um, As a comedy show because I've forgotten the rest of the title. Do you walk amongst us? Dear Extraterrestrials, do you walk amongst us? But first off, I'm going to invite my colleague Brian, who's co-host tonight, and he's supported this session and supported me in being able to do this. So, Brian, I know you have something to say at the outset, so if you want to go ahead and do that.
Yeah, I just want to mention this is a meetup group. This is the Vancouver UFO and Preparing for ET Contact meetup group. So most people come for that, but Dave's invited a lot of others. Actually, yesterday I changed the name of the group and just dropped off Greater Vancouver, just call it Vancouver UFO and Preparing for ET Contact. I'll just I used AI to change the description of it. It's a much better description of the meetup group. So I'll just a couple minutes do the share screen and show you that. I guess you can see my screen, right?
Hmm.
So you're at this meeting right now. It's called Vancouver per Contact, and so what we're about. Welcome to Vancouver UFO and Preparing for ET Contact. Explore the fascinating world of UFOs and extraterrestrial encounters with us. This is a space for curious minds and passionate researchers to come together, exchange insights, and share personal experiences related to ET contact and the unexplained. We dive into evidence, discuss theories about why extraterrestrials are engaging with humanity, and examine how these phenomena may be influencing society and consciousness. Our group is also a welcoming community for those who may feel isolated in their interests. Here you'll find like-minded people and the opportunity to form lasting friendships. Dave suggested I should emphasize that. It's a great way to create a community. So whether you've spent years investigating these topics or you're just beginning your journey, you're invited to be part of meaningful conversations that challenge the limits of conventional thinking. So we regularly host meetups, talks, and guest speakers, and we're cultivating a strong in-person community in Vancouver. Not located nearby, that's okay. There's still ways to get involved, like this meeting right now, online community and participation. We're building an online community to open to everyone with an interest in UFOs, extraterrestrials, and the deeper questions of contact and consciousness. You don't need to be a ufologist to get involved. If you're interested in hosting a meeting or share your experience, simply reach out to your organizer, Brian. That's me. So, and also, Brian has developed a unique school of thought within ufology. This group welcomes all viewpoints. We encourage respectful dialogue, and all voices are welcome to participate and be heard. You can explore Brian's evolving research here as links to we have a video channel called Brian Rositi Hypothesis and Resources. I'm actually revising that now. Harvard Smithsonian astrophysicist Dr. Rudy Shield endorses this, writing that Brian presents a factual basis more comprehensive than any has ever seen. So this is our video channel. It's on BitChute, on Room Etiquette, and some further reading. Yeah, so we have right now, you can see 946 members, and a lot of them are in the United States. So we're just sort of developing Vancouver. So we've been mostly an online group since 2021. So we're doing both online. So for you guys, I've invited anybody to host a meeting. I invited about 850 people a couple of months ago, and Dave was the one person out of 850 who came forward and said, okay, I'll host something. So thank you, Dave. And I was thinking
It's
Kevin here
okay.
or others or Howard, if you want to host a meetup, we can talk. So the link to the meetup's in the chat, and I'll put my email and phone number there too. So that's all I want to say, but it's Dave's meeting. So I'll co-host with you, Dave, and man the Zoom controls.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay. Can we turn it off? Okay. Thank you. Right. As host, I'll say a little bit about this first and my own experiences quickly. Just a little bit about my background for those that don't know. I'm a regression therapist, so it's quite common for me to take people into past lives or between lives even. Um, Occasionally, they'd go to lives on other planets without me actually sending them there. So that was one of the curious things that I've had uh, in my past. I've had a missing time experience, which was with a group of a variety of different species of uh, extraterrestrial beings. That was when I was 4 years old, and another one when I was about 19 years old. So those are my, physical experiences. In the last 5 or 6 years, I've devoted more and more attention to this area, just trying to understand more about what our connection is, why they're interested in us, and and other aspects of what it's all for, anyway. Right. Now, I could have asked a slightly different question in terms of I could have asked uh, about non-physical, about presence here. I could have asked, dear extraterrestrial beings, are you present amongst us on Earth? Because in my case, I would say yes, for sure. I've experienced this on numerous occasions in channelings, in meditations, in channelings with groups, and so on, where different information has come through. I haven't actually seen a guy walking down the street and said, "Oh, he's an extraterrestrial," or she. I haven't had that experience, although I believe others. There's another aspect of this which could be gone into, probably not today, but another occasion, where I'd say, well, I'm calling them extraterrestrial beings, yet how are they different from us? They're different in some of the more obvious ways in their makeup and their capabilities. Yet, what are they made of? Are we made of the same stuff? And I tend to think that we are, simply that we haven't developed anywhere near as much as some of those, is how it seems to me. Uh, yeah, one of the things tonight is I'm hoping to hear what you think, what your impression of it is, what your experience of it is, and so I'm going to start inviting people to speak up as and when you're ready. So, is there a person here who would like to speak first?
And they can use the hand feature at the bottom where it says a react feature there and raise hand. That's a really civilized way to do it, or you can just raise your hand.
Yeah, bit tricky if you got your camera off,
Oh,
but
Howard's doing the
I
old-fashioned way. Okay, Howard's ready.
okay, okay,
Uh,
Howard.
well, let me do it the newfangled way as well. There, got my hand raised. Let me give
Okay,
to begin, let me give a little bit of background about myself. I live in southwest Washington state, just south of Seattle, north of Portland. And as a human being, I've had three major careers in my lifetime. The last one being a certified hypnotherapist, past life regressioner, and life between lives uh, hypnotherapy facilitator. And I've had many clients who've, like you, David, have had experiences that they've recalled of off-world experiences. I say off-world, not Earth. They've incarnated on other worlds in our galaxy or even other galaxies. I've had people who have recalled lifetimes in the Andromedan galaxy, which is our closest neighbor, and also many planets within this galaxy, specifically Arcturian, Pleiadian, Blue Avian, and several others. Not only have my clients expressed lifetimes on planets like these, they've also, while hypnotized, recalled experiences, lifetimes, if you will, in other times, like as in past lives, or in other dimensions. And now, when we talk of dimensions, it's not like this is a third dimensional world. No, this is really a fourth dimensional world, a third dimension physical, but a fourth dimension spiritual. So, as a result of all of my experiences with my clients and my own personal anomalies, that I call them anomalies, things that have happened to me, which are just not, well, they're outside the normal experience of humans, such as automatic writing or remote viewing. But many of my clients have expressed lifetimes in other dimensions of consciousness and even other universes. I've had one instance where it really astounded me. I've documented this in one of the books that I've written. Um, I was doing a transcalar healing session, and midway I was interrupted by, well, I just sensed a presence nearby, and there was no one there that I could see or hear or feel except sense. I just knew they were there, and I asked why this being was there. And he said, well, to observe and to learn. And that he had heard about this healing technique, and now he wanted to bring it back to his own universe. That was interesting and stunning to me. But anyway, I've had so many of these anomalous experiences. I've come to fashion my own belief system about what I've experienced personally, as well as it's influenced by what my clients have also experienced. And it goes something like this. Creator created all the souls, explorer souls, created them with curiosity and free will to do anything they wished without judgment, free to explore the spiritual realms and the physical realms. But being non-physical, just pure consciousness, Creator couldn't experience the physical world. So he created souls as conscious agents who could explore and visit other worlds. And these souls can observe other worlds, but they can't really experience these other worlds unless the soul or a portion of its energy incarnates physically into the body on the planet in question. And we call that part of the extremely powerful energetic essence of the soul. We call that part of the soul that incarnates a higher self. At least that's what my understanding of it is. And this higher self can contact, or we can contact with our physical brain and our physical body, our mind, if you will. We can contact the information in this higher self through things like meditation or hypnotherapy, past lives, etc. And in this in the spiritual realm, these creations called souls, they're not human or Arcturian or Pleiadian or Antarian or Syrian or you name it. They're just souls. But all souls have the ability to incarnate into extraterrestrial beings. For instance, an Antarian being or an Arcturian being. And during the lifetime of that being, that soul inhabits that body. And then, like on earth, at the end of that lifetime, the soul returns to its spiritual self, the whole self of the soul. So this soul can incarnate into non-human beings, can also incarnate into human beings, as we've discovered through this past life regression, life between lives therapy, etc. But if souls can incarnate into non-human physical beings, which are now called NHIs by some people, uh, non-human individuals or intelligence, it just makes complete logical sense that a soul can also incarnate into the human being. And it's not an Arcturian soul, but it's a soul who has experience on Arcturus. So it's not an extraterrestrial, really. It's a soul that has had experience and has developed and evolved spiritually on another planet, uh, and then chosen to incarnate here on Earth. And we walk among you. So the answer is yes.
Okay, thank you, Howard. Howard, my impression is that pretty much all of us have extraterrestrial heritage, and thus we can say that we are all extraterrestrial and we're
Yes.
all walking amongst us. Yet there's another aspect of this, perhaps a hybrids or people that have a strong awareness of their heritage, and a conscious awareness of why they're here. So I'm thinking in terms of instances of what may be hybrid souls here, uh, operating in hybrid bodies. Have you any experience of that?
Yes. Let's do, delve down a little deeper and on the definition of hybrids. There's a couple of, or at least two definitions of hybrids. I believe what you're talking about, hybrids, are in the sense that an extraterrestrial soul, or a soul who has extraterrestrial heritage, then chooses to incarnate on humans. Is that the way that you're looking at the hybrid question?
Um, well, kind of. For instance, I discovered that I have heritage as an Arcturian, um, and probably others as well. Yet there are some beings, and I'm trying to think. The memory of David Bowie comes to mind. Actually, I have no idea whether he was extraterrestrial, but he sort of fits the criteria of someone who's different and challenges the societal rules and seeks to contribute by inspiring us to discover more about ourselves and our abilities. So I what I was um, I agree with you. There's different ways to understand this question and different ways to answer it. So I was just wondering if there's a different experiences you have where it's more clear that a person is from another world and knows it.
Yes, I have not experienced this myself, but I've heard of it and have had clients relate to me experiences of abduction by ETs, uh, taken to UFOs of other species, and they're joined in a or been forced to join into a program of hybridization. That is a physical hybridization.
Mhm.
The the physical being abducted. Let me back up again. We in our discussions with ETs, one of the ET species that we investigated and conversed with was the grays, specifically the tall grays. Now, the tall grays they they act as transporters of the small grays, those who abduct and performed hybridization experiments on. The little abductors, abductor grays, don't believe in spirituality and have chosen to disregard anything that does not occur in the physical world. They are completely logic driven. When we asked, why do you abduct people from Earth? The answer was through the tall grays, who are very willing to communicate. They are spiritually evolved. The small grays are not. But the theme of the small grays was they were very intelligent and aware that humankind was developing ways to kill others with nuclear bombs, and they were certain that the eventual outcome would very soon be the complete destruction of Earth. And they wanted to preserve humanity as a species. So prior to its destruction, humans' destruction, they invited or abducted several humans to come up to their spacecraft, and there they retrieved, harvested sperm and eggs, and created a hybrid race with the DNA of other species, so that they could let those hybrids evolve on Earth or in their spacecraft, and they would undergo different examinations to determine their viability for introduction on another planet. June, can you turn your volume?
Yeah, I've just muted June. June,
Okay.
okay, you can unmute when you're ready, June, when the
Yeah.
background noise is gone.
Yeah. Okay. So the small grays are creating this hybrid program to determine the viability of the human species on additional planets after Earth is destroyed. I have no way of verifying that story, but from their perspective, it would make sense. But this is the story that the tall grays have relayed to our spiritual research group, a collection of channels that I've trained. So, more information on this process can be found in my book, The ETs Speak. So that's the other definition of hybrids that I could offer, David.
Okay, thank you. You're welcome to put your the details for your book in the chat, Howard, in case anyone's interested in checking it out.
I'll do that. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. Sarah asked the question, how do they choose who to abduct? Do you have a response to that, Howard, or does anyone else have their thoughts on that?
I've not been privy to their method of selection, but I would guess that it's a healthy human and therefore be a candidate for mixing with DNA from other species to determine, yeah, the viability in various worlds with different radiation, different temperatures, pressures, etc. So,
Okay, thanks, Howard. Thank you. Just on my own experience, when I had missing time as a 4-year-old, I was on a spacecraft, and in regressions and in channelings, I've trying to explore how come this happened. What why me, and etc. And one of the questions I asked was, well, who set this up? And my the answer I got was me. Um, in regression work, there's a point between lives when we're in a soul state where we can get to a point where we're choosing our next incarnation. And at that point, we can consult with others and consult about what we plan to do during this incarnation. So that's my experience of it anyway. Anyway,
Dave, I could respond to your question if anyone else had an idea about it, if you're finished.
yeah.
About the sort of induction process. Richard Dolan says this is an extremely widespread and covert operation, obviously involving genetics across the entire world. So I think they may have some favoritism towards Irish lineage. There seems to be a bit of that. But I think it's a long-term program to upgrade humanity, and it's very complicated and multifaceted. Yeah, so I think it's the Mantids are in charge of this. Like Richard Olin says, the Mantids are always in charge when the Greys are around doing their work, and I think the Greys are the ones people see the most. But I think it's a Mantid plan, and I have confidence in it. I think it's a good plan.
Okay, thanks, Brian. I can see Alfred's had his hand up for quite a long time now. Alfred, would you?
And I would like to introduce Alfred because he's a significant figure. I've known him for 15 years here in Vancouver. Alfred Lambermont Weber, you might know he's the founder of Exopolitics. He's a futurist. He's involved in the Carter administration in 1977. He's in his early 80s. And Alfred is hosting our meetup exactly this time next Sunday. So Alfred can tell you about that. So welcome, Alfred. Alfred, glad you could join us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can people hear me? I just want to make sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. Well, this is my book, Exopolitics, published in the year 2000. So this is the 25th anniversary. And this book is credited with founding the science of exopolitics. It was chosen as one of the English language words of the year at the time, and is now an established science. It's a science of the integration of intelligent species in the study of intelligent species in the universe and the multiverse and the omniverse. And so that's the book, Exopolitics. I just want to share one other of my books. This is my book, My Journey Landing Heaven on Earth, which I was directed to publish after going public around 2015 of my own missing time experience going up into a spacecraft or some sort of space platform by other intelligences, dimensional intelligences in February of 1973. And that's what launched my own exopolitical career and led to my book, publishing the book, Exopolitics, and beginning in this career. Currently, I'm co-authoring a book. We'll feel very privileged with Dr. Raymond Keller, who is known as, quote, the historian of Venus. And he's written a half a dozen and more books on Venus. To give you a concept of the Venusian oversight, not only of Earth, but of this solar system, there are, Dr. Keller is a Venus contactee, and he has visited Venus, was granted a visit to Venus for about 6 weeks, and has been designated a Venus historian on Earth by Lady Orda, who is the regent, the queen of Venus. Venus is a matriarchy and not a patriarchy such as Earth is at this time. There are about 12,000 Venusians that are living on Earth, stationed on Earth, in camouflage at this time, but with governments and other institutions maintaining stability, so we do not have a nuclear event or other mega event that destabilizes Earth, and there are about 50,000 other Venusians that are at a dimensional level monitoring Earth. Earth's moon is under the command of a Venusian station. This Clarion is the name of the Venusian moon station. Venus commands the station of Earth's moon under the overall administration of a confederation of planets. So things are very much more advanced. This is widely known in Europe than in North America, where the United States government has been in the business of suppressing the Venusian presence. The book that I'm working on is entitled, it's in draft forms, entitled Exopolitics: The Advanced Civilization on Venus. It should be published somewhere at the beginning of 2016. And I'm hoping that in the same way that this is the 25th anniversary, 2025, of exopolitics, that by 2050, we'll have it more widely known in North America that Venus is not only inhabited, but it's a highly evolved planet and is responsible for the stability and the sort of sixth and seventh and beyond dimensional activities. Some of the more evolved and perhaps controversial aspects of Venus. This is something that I'm currently trying to absorb and learn, is that Jesus Christ is an ascended master, an angel, as it were, of Venusian origin, Michael, and it's slightly different from the standard Christian doctrine. Valiant Thor was a Venusian commander that was dispatched under the authority of Jesus Christ to the Eisenhower administration and stationed in the Pentagon and intercepted or diplomatically between the Russians and the Americans so as to avoid nuclear war, which has been the great fear. I believe it was mentioned earlier in this panel here. So I do. Dr. Keller has, half dozen and more books on Venus. This is one of his books, Flying Saucers, From Venus They Come. You may have seen some of these. There's a great deal of suppression of the knowledge that the age of flying saucers, which began, say, in the late 40s and the 50s here, are generally Venusian craft, although craft come here from all over. But Venus has been the major caretaker of this planet. And with that, I'd just like to sum up and thank you for this opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Alfred. So in terms of the question, I guess your answer is, yeah, there are thousands of Venusians here, all within, not mixed within society, in their own stations. Have I understood you correctly?
Yes, there are many Venusians are stationed here, and they may appear as in various guises. Of the 13,000 Venusians here, they may appear as Earthlings in very important technical or scientific roles, teacher roles. There are also humans who have been kind of made Venusian aware and act as Venusian agents. So it's quite a diverse category.
Okay.
This is my first. It's in my authorship. I've got 25 books on Amazon, and the word Venus is appearing for the first time in the book I'm co-authoring with Dr. Keller. And the word Venus does not appear in Exopolitics. I am coming to my Venus aha moment in writing this book. And I'm just confessing it. I did not fully understand the exopolitics of the solar system vis-a-vis Venus. So
Sure, I don't think any of us fully understand what's out there and what we're interacting with. But thank you, Alfred. Thank you. Okay, who would like to speak next?
No, Sarah has a question here. Is Valiant
Oh, yeah.
Thor still here on Earth? Yeah, I think Valiant Thor came in 1957 to Alexandria, Virginia. Do you know about that, Alfred? I guess the question was directed at you.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
In the chat, Sarah asks, is Valiant Thor still here on Earth?
That's a good question. I appeared together with Dr. Keller with another Venus contactee, Robert Potter, the late Robert Potter. Robert Potter and Raymond Keller and I were on Holy Thursday during Holy Week of this year. We're on a program on the famous Argentine radio show Aeropuerto Orion. And shortly after that, Robert Potter died in his sleep. My assumption was that he was taken off to some other, but Robert Potter was a direct contactee of Valiant Thor, but in the dimensions, not in face to face. I'm now writing the book, so I can't tell you, and I'm not sufficiently schooled in when it was that Valiant Thor left his earthly assignment to go up into a dimensional assignment. He is still active as one of the commanders over Venus Earth liaison matters. So he is active in a dimensional sense, but I can't give you chapter and verse as to how he's fulfilling that role. I will certainly ask. I'm interviewing Dr. Keller in 2 more interviews over the next couple of weeks, and I will ask Dr. Keller that question. But I'm sorry, I don't have that specific information right now.
Sarah's just responded in the chat saying, do you think he will step forward to help humanity directly?
That could well be. I mean, the Venusians are very active. We have Venusians like Aura Reigns, who is the commander of the Earth Moon base, who was active both in the American Revolution and the French Revolution. The Venusians were active in the revolutions here, both in the American and the French revolutions. Why do you ask? Because on Venus they had a revolution, and the revolution came as part of, and they had a war against AI. There was an AI attempt to take over Venus, and the people had to fight AI off. So they've gone through many of the stages that we are still engaged here on Earth. We're sort of at a pre-AI war stage here on Earth. So it's very fortunate that we on planet Earth have an evolved society in Venus that has gone through the stages successfully, so that the senior personnel like Aura Raines, who's the commander of the moon base, Valiant Thor, who's a senior commander, who has been assigned to Earth, who has the experience of having been stationed in the Pentagon during the Eisenhower years. Those are experienced senior diplomats who can step up and keep matters stable on Earth. We have now a very, I'm based in Canada, and we have a very, from our Canadian point of view, a very unstable United States situation with the tariffs and with I was just informed in my position as judge of the Natural and Common Law Tribunal for Public Health and Justice that the AI is actually in charge of what the US president has called the Golden Dome, has been infiltrated by the AI. So that is a terrible situation that I'm sure the Venusians are aware of, and could pose a great threat to the planet or to the stability of the planet Earth. And I just learned we have just called a Zoom session of our tribunal for next Sunday. Brian, you just mentioned that we have a meetup next Sunday, so I'm gonna have to adjust the Zoom time so I don't bump into that Zoom. I'm going to ask you later for the Zoom time.
Yes, 11 o'clock Pacific. We have it booked.
Oh, and I just called our tribunal for 11 a.m. Pacific. So I guess I'm
we can change the meetup easily. We can just change the time. That's no problem.
Oh, okay, thank you. But you can see how dicey matters are if artificial intelligence has now allegedly, according to the evidence, infiltrated the Golden Dome project, which is the outer space successor to President Reagan's and the Israeli Iron Dome project to protect itself from Iranian missiles. Anyway, I'm just going to leave that there to give you a sense of what exopolitics is vis-a-vis the Venusians and Earth at this time.
Thank you, Alfred. Thank you for all that. Yeah, there's lots of stuff I wasn't particularly aware about. So you're hosting that next Sunday. I'll just point out that it's going to be a different link than this one. Yeah, if anyone's interested in joining it, I can only recommend going through Meetup to do that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Who'd like to speak next? It's unusual to see you so quiet, Kevin.
Yeah.
I was intrigued and listening to what other people have to say. I always find it fascinating, and I always learn a lot more. So I said to my wife today, oh, "I'm only going on. I'm not speaking today. I'm just going to go on and watch and listen." And now you've
All right. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
but I can address what's been said already. A couple of things that Howard mentioned about hybrid souls. Now, I've never spoken about this before. I was told many, many years ago that I was a hybrid soul, and the hybrid soul was Anunnaki and Arcturian. And I'd never heard anybody talk about that at all. And I've never spoken about it because it's so unusual. But now Howard has confirmed that for me, that hybrid souls are an actual thing. And I was told by an Anunnaki himself that I had his DNA, part of his DNA. So it's interesting how the different cultures have passed the DNA down to us. So we are mixtures of all different races, galactic races, I'm sure. And it's interesting to see Alfred here in relation to his work, because it's fascinating how all this information is coming out now. And just to confirm something that Alfred said, I was speaking last week to my group of 8 extraterrestrials who I call the Council of 8, and they told me to be aware of artificial intelligence. It is very dangerous. They know of civilizations that have been destroyed when they have created AI. So be aware of it. So I think when Alpha said we are in a pre-AI war, that really substantiates what my group of extraterrestrials are telling me. So clearly, we are moving forward with the information, and there's more people speaking out about it. So hopefully we can get through this. But I know so many now who have been suckered in to the AI, to the chatbots, and they think they're sentient beings now, which is terrible. And the Golden Dome, which Alfred mentions, I've heard that too, that the AI has infiltrated the infrastructure, the technologies of the Golden Dome. So again, they're taking control of the defense of this Golden Dome, and they could cancel it or turn it off, turn it on as and when they want. So it's a very dangerous time, and I think the more we get the information out there, the more we can do something about it. But it has to come from the people, from the citizens of Earth. We have to do it ourselves. We've got the help of all the different levels of consciousness, the spirit realm, all the way up to the angelic realm, even the divine. And the ascended masters, they're all helping. The archangels, they're all helping. I know all this. They're all communicating and helping people who have those abilities, human abilities, to communicate with them. So we are being assisted, and it's nice to know. I wasn't aware of anything about the Venetians or Venusians, whichever way you say it, but interesting that they are here. They are assisting with our. I know that my group that I work with are members of the Galactic Federation. They are here. They show themselves regularly. They are communicating with others. I had an email this morning from a friend of mine, Nick Pastera, from the Exo Conscious community, and he's received information from the Council of 8, and we're going to discuss that next week. But interesting how they're reaching out to others now. I've had contact with them since I was 8 years old, and they've educated me in relation to consciousness itself and how it can be utilized for communication, for travel, for healing, for education, for creation and co-creation. And that's the important part, the creation and co-creation. We now need to co-create with our star families a timeline, and the timeline that is successful and takes us to the golden years for humanity with the new technologies which are used to help and support the planet. And that's where we're heading, but we have to do that. And we now know that creation of timelines comes from the void of consciousness itself. It is not void as the name suggests, but it's full of possibilities, full of potential, full of intentions. And when we understand that, then we can do the creation ourselves. And we within the Exo Conscious community are working towards that. And this Council of 8 now are reaching out to other members within that community. So it's really, I think it's quite exciting times to be alive, but there's many dangers, many obstacles we have to overcome. But I'm sure we can do it. And my ETs say that they're here to assist with the evolution of humanity. And the evolution, part of that is the education about consciousness, the education about the frequencies of consciousness. In fact, they gave an equation for calculating the frequencies of consciousness in each dimension. And if anybody's interested, it's just been published in Ray Hernandez's book, A Greater Reality. So if anybody's interested in that, and they also gave me an equation for the void of consciousness as well. So that's in there if anybody's interested in looking at that. So I'm pleased to see so many people who are talking about this now and are interested in the subject. In fact, I've got 4 books on my desk here, which are these 4 books here. The first 2 are by Kathleen Marden, and she speaks about the Council of Eight. The second one is Rebecca Renfro, and it's Quantum Windows and Dimensions. And she speaks about Orton D, 2 of the Council of Eight, when she met them. And then obviously my own book, I speak about them in there as well. So, and now we've got the greater reality. So really, we are creating now. I was on a podcast a few weeks ago, Coitcast they called it, and he asked me a question. He said, Kevin, are the Council of Eight real or are you creating them? And I thought, well, that's a very good question. But now I realize perhaps because we have an understanding of creation and co-creation, I believe they are real. I've met them in the physical when I was 14. I had 2 materialize in my bathroom when I was 8, and they were there in the physical. So I'm happy that they are physical. But the creation side of humanity, we can do that once we understand consciousness itself and how that creation and co-creation is done. So I think that's the key really in moving forward to creating the timeline with our star families. And perhaps Alfred can help with that with his contacts. I'm sure that will be possible in the future. So
Agreed totally, Kevin. Yeah, we are the saviors we've been waiting for.
I was going to follow up and ask a question there. As I understand it, extraterrestrial beings have intervened at times where where humanity is threatened to use nuclear weapons, and they've disabled them. And I'm wondering if any of you have an insight into whether they are ready to intervene if with the excesses of what we're calling AI, and whether they can be so as destructive as the potential for destruction that you're talking about.
no, the only information I received was, and it was only last week actually, was the fact that how dangerous it is for humanity and how they've known other civilizations be destroyed by their own creation of AI. So, but now I'm seeing more and more information. I read an article today really discussing what we're talking about here today, apart from the Venetians. So it's coming to the forefront now. Is the AI, and it's something we have to tackle. So yeah.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. Thanks. Okay, Brian, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was answering your question. It was what was the question again? It was
I was
the role of
wondering.
AI. I'm sorry, if
Yeah.
like who's behind AI. I'm thinking like I'm influenced by Susie Hansen in New Zealand. The Dual Soul Connection is her book, and she talks about how she's seen like scientists and inventors on craft. She would see them right there in a semi-conscious state, being given ideas. She thinks a lot of the inventions that we have in our society over many decades, maybe back to Nikola Tesla was born in 1856 or 58, could have come from these influences, although she didn't mention Tesla. So I'm assuming that like the internet, the iPad, or AI could have come from extraterrestrial technology coming down or influence us. So maybe AI can be used for negative purposes or good purposes. So there's a sort of a cosmic war going on. I think on the dark side, there's some dark reptilians. On the good side, there's the grays and the mantids. So maybe, I think the higher good side is more in charge and has ability to control the situation. So maybe AI can be used by good people for good things, bad people for bad things. But I feel okay, but I use AI myself. Like I just showed the Vancouver UFO prepare me up. I wrote it last night using AI, using Chat GPT Plus. Um, so I think the AI itself may have come from the ETs, and it could go either way. But I hope it works out okay.
Okay, Brian, thank you. Okay, who would like to speak next? The resounding silence. I'll start picking on people. Brian, do you want to continue then?
Yeah, for the question of the day is, dear extraterrestrials, do you walk among us? Yeah, I can think of two examples I'd start off with is Bill Uhouse in the 1950s was a mechanical engineer working at Area 51. You can see his YouTube video. I think it was filmed in the 1990s. He said he actually worked with a gray named J-Rod, and another witness in the 1960s came forward and said he worked with the same gray J-Rod. And their instructions were he's an engineer and he's giving engineering advice. They were kind of back engineering craft. They're working with a particular simulation system. So they weren't asking philosophical questions about the universe, where are you from, what's the nature of reality. So that's pretty good testimony. I believe it. I think it's probably true. I would incline towards that. Other ufologists have taken Bill Uhouse seriously. That's an example of aliens walking among us. Another example is in the 1960s with Charles Hall. He's written a book about this, about tall whites working again in Area 51. And he had kind of a low-level job, kind of a security job, but he was in their vicinity and he met with the tall whites regularly over a period of months before he shipped off to Vietnam in the 1960s. And he wrote a book about that, and he maintained secrecy, I guess, until the 1990s. And many people in the UFO community feel he's a credible witness. So I think that's probably true. And I think it kind of makes sense that that the tall whites would have a relationship with the globalists or the American government. And Charles Hall, during his military service, he recounted structured treaties between ET factions with the tall whites, operating under strict conditions and protocols. So he viewed them as part of a larger cooperative network. So this shows kind of an embedding within the American government of the whole globalist system, as part of secrecy right in Area 51. So, that's specifically the answer to the question of the meetup. And I think in the big picture, yeah, I think sort of the big picture, they go over billions of years. The mantids have brought life to Earth with the DNA of various creatures. They've developed us, earlier forms of humanity. I think the mantids and the grays probably create us, and they come and go. So in some form, they're walking on the Earth. And I think like David Jacobs' books, he talks about hybrids walking among us. I think this is probably true. And some researchers in the UFO community say there's aliens walking the halls of the Pentagon, and some look entirely human. So I just take that as a given, just an assumption for sure. I'd say they're walking among us. That's my bit.
Okay, Brian. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so who'd like to speak next? Now, before I get a response to that, I'd just like to say, well, you might gather from what's been said so far that there are many of us that have done a lot of exploring and come with lots of experiences, and we're able to contribute to all that. And I'm guessing that there'll be, those amongst us that feel that they don't have that much experience. I'd still like to hear from you. I'd still like to hear what you think, what your view is, and what your view is on what's been said. So you're welcome to speak up anyway. So, having said that, who'd like to speak next? Sarah, if you want to
And
stay
Fernando is next after Sarah, in case you didn't catch it. Sarah and then Fernando.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
Did you want to go first, Fernando?
No, I'm happy to wait.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had a few weird, strange experiences over my life. One kind of with a small gray. I was sitting out back and I sensed something was staring at me. So I did a scan, but I couldn't see anything. So then I used my camera to scan around myself. And I noticed that in the camera behind me, there was a small gray there. Cut to in the future. I've had weird experiences mostly with light beings. So I'm wondering if there's a connection between aliens and light beings of kind of different colors, or if that's a different species that I'm seeing. Does anybody have any thoughts about that?
I could answer that question if you want, Brian.
Yeah, go ahead.
in relation to light beings, that was a term I heard a few years ago, and I hadn't heard of it before. And I was actually traveling out of body on the astral plane, and I was invited onto a craft which was conscious. As I went through the skin of the craft, I could tell that it was conscious. On the craft were two beings who I've known since I was 8. Their names are Orc D. They are Arcturians, they are guides and teachers. And while we were on that craft, they gave me a message actually for Dr. Stephen Greer. And they gave me the message, and then I conveyed it later on, but that's not the story I'm trying to tell. But when I said, who shall I say the message is from? Because he won't know who Orc D is. And they said to tell Dr. Greer, we are the light beings. And that's the first time I'd heard that term. And bearing in mind they're Arcturian, they're fifth dimensional beings. And again, the difference between the dimensions is only the frequencies of consciousness. And they look human, they look just like me and you. But to refer themselves as to the light beings was unusual for me. But what transpired then, I conveyed the message via a third party, and Dr. Greer did respond about 20 minutes after, and he thanked me for the information and said he would take it under advisement. But then he sent me a photograph of a light being that he had taken while he was out in the field. So I thought that was really confirmation for me, and probably the reason why they use the term light being. So I don't know whether all extraterrestrials are light being, but if we understand that, I know our DNA contains light frequencies, encoded light frequencies. So are we all light beings? I suspect that we are. We are beings of frequencies of light. So it might refer to everybody. I've no evidence of that other than from what Orton D told me to convey that message to Dr. Stephen Greer.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like we're light beings too.
Oh, okay, that's good. One other thing though, when I was given that particular message, and I've met them many times out of body on the astral plane in conscious craft. And I remember one of the first times, and I went onto the craft and I said, let me see if I understand this correctly. Let me see if I understand what's happening here. I said, here we have got 3 beings, me from Earth, a human, 2 Arcturians from the 5th dimension, traveling on a conscious craft that you've created, and we're on the astral plane out of body. They said, yes, that's correct. I then said to them, I see you 2 as pure conscious energy orbs, sort of round, 46 inch in diameter, slightly vibrating, golden yellow in color. I said, how do you see me? They said, Kevin, we see you exactly the same as a pure conscious energy.
Yeah.
So clearly we are the same as them. We just don't have the education to understand that. And once we do, that's when we will evolve and take our 2-seat back within the galactic families, which I suspect is where we came from to start with, and all our memories have been erased. I think, and now I'm meeting many people that have all been educated with a small piece of this information. And when we all get together, we can see the greater picture. So it's fascinating to see so many people here in this group talking about these subjects. So, yeah.
Yeah, because I was curious. I wasn't sure if it was just like a different alien species or if that's what they were just showing me because it was comfortable for me to see, or that's just how I could perceive it. Like, I just didn't know.
Well, I suspect because they told me that our DNA are light frequencies, and those light frequencies can be encoded. And I suspect when I was 9 years old, a pure conscious energy orb came into my home from Sunday to Friday. And the pure conscious energy orb was of Ort, the guide and teacher, the Arcturian. They stayed from Sunday to Friday. There was no communication that I knew of. I just saw it there. It was just hanging around in the house behind the curtain, and it was there for 5 days. But when it left that weekend, I was able to travel outside of my body, outside of the physical realm at will. So I suspect those encoded light frequencies within our DNA, they activated that. So I was able to travel outside of the physical realm. And I realized later, a lot of my education was on the astral plane, on the conscious craft. And we have the abilities to do all that they do. And they've shown me how to do all these things. And I practice them. So I'm at a level now where I can communicate with them at their level of consciousness. And even when I have telepathic communication, I see it's like watching a screen. I see this screen in front of me. I see where they are. They speak to me telepathically. I understand what they're saying. And I get the emotions. The emotions come through as well. So, but again, these are human abilities that we can all learn. And as we learn those, then we can connect with our extraterrestrials at their level of consciousness. And it goes through to the higher realms of consciousness as well. I've got friends that communicate with the archangels. I don't have that particular ability, but they do. And others have the ascended masters that they communicate. And they're all just levels of frequencies of consciousness. So once we learn to do that, learn to travel outside of the physical realm, do the creation, the co-creation, create a conscious craft, and go and travel and come back. They're just frequencies of consciousness, and that's the key. That's the key to our evolution.
So what do you recommend for best being able to communicate with them or help develop your own skills to be able to do so?
If you're just starting out, one of the modalities they use are dream state. If you go to bed, before you go to bed, have the intention during the day, the intention's important, to communicate with them. Go to bed and ask them to communicate with you in a dream. And that's a very easy way to do it. Then you don't get scared because you're comfortable, you're in your own bed, and then expand it from there. But the key is asking, the key is meditating. I didn't realize as a child I meditated. Nobody told me how to do it. I was just looking for answers. I'd relax. I'd go to a quiet spot somewhere. I'd close my eyes. I'd breathe deeply, and then I would look inward. I would continue looking inward until I saw an eye would appear, and then I would change direction, go through the eye, and I was on the astral plane. And then from there, you can go anywhere. You can meet other people. You can be educated. You can travel. And then you can always ask for healing. I've asked for healing from my extraterrestrial star family, and they will help heal. But again, I always ask before I go to bed because they can communicate with you while you're asleep. But very often with me, they'll wake me up at 111, 222, 333. They'll give me a telepathic communication, and then I'll get up, I'll go into my bathroom, and I'll say, look, you've just given me all this information here. How do I know it's come from you? Can you confirm it's come from you by turning that street light off? And the street light goes off immediately. And I've done that vice versa. It's daylight. They give me the telepathic communication. And then I'll go into the bathroom. I'll say, you've just given me all this information. Can you turn that street light on? And the street light comes on immediately. And if you do that all your life, ask for confirmation, you build up that ability for the telepathic communication. And so I think it's interesting that another thing that's quite interesting, just I'm talking about 111 and 222, there's a book here by Kathleen Marden, Extra-Terrestrial Contact, and she mentions me on page 222. I asked her why she did that. She said, I didn't do that, Kevin. She said, I sent it to the publisher and it was just on that page. And then another one, she wrote a second book about forbidden knowledge, about the Council of Eight. That's Kathleen Marden on the back. Some of you may know her. And in there, I think she's got a picture of me on page 111. And I said to her, how do you put this picture on page 111? She says, no, I sent it off to the publisher. But that's in volume, the first one. She's now republished the second one. So I don't know what page I'm on in that. But there's all that communication around us. Once we tap into it and open up to the greater reality, then we realize we are more than just a physical human being on this planet sat here spinning around the sun. So it makes it more interesting for us here to communicate with our star families. And that's what Brian and David are talking about today. Are they here? Yes, they're here. If you want to reach out to them, you can do. You can communicate with them at will. I'll finish in a minute, Brian. I've got one more thing to say. Talking about communication, are they here? When I was 14, I went onto a craft, a large craft, and I met this group of 8. But while I was walking through the hangar, there was a small grey. He was working on a craft, and he waved to me like this. So I waved back to be polite. And his name was Tia. He's a pilot and a technician. He maintains his own small craft. And I've got to know him over the years. And a couple of years ago, I got up in the morning and I thought, I'll just see if I can reach out to the Council of Eight. And I couldn't contact them. But I contacted this small craft that was flying past, and flying the craft was Tia. So I asked him after pleasantries what he was doing here, and he said they were going transporting from A to B. They deviated from their flight plan to see where I lived. So we had a bit more conversation, and then he said, right, we'll have to go. And bearing in mind, when I see them, when I get the telepathic communication, I saw the craft. It was a metallic saucer. There was about 8 greys in there on 2 rows of seats behind him. He was piloting the craft. Then I got up, I got my coffee, I went to join my wife outside, and she said to me, Kevin, you've missed the most beautiful rainbow this morning. And it was 180 degrees from fence line to fence line. And I said, oh, did you get a photograph? She said, yes. But then she said, you never guess what happened next. She said, a craft appeared under the rainbow, about 500 feet from our backyard. And I said, did you get a photograph? She says, yes. I looked at the photograph. The time on the photograph was the exact time on the clock in the bedroom when I was speaking to Tia. That's the level of communication we can have once we open up to the greater reality again, shall we say. I think it's fascinating that we all have these abilities. We're just not taught them. So reach out, ask, and no matter what level you're at, they will help you. Ask your own guides. We've all got guides. We've all got extraterrestrial guides. Ask Orton D. That's their job description. They are guides and teachers. And I know they reach out to others because I've suggested that to other people, and then they've reached out to them and had communication. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Well, you're welcome.
Okay, Howard, I guess you have a response to something there. Then I'll bring Fernando in when you're finished. Oh, you're on mute, Howard.
Okay, thank you. Very quickly, Kevin was talking about dimensions of consciousness. I once asked Archangel Michael to define consciousness, and he replied, he told me what the first 5 dimensions of consciousness were and where humanity fits in. I've entered that information into the chat, but I don't know if I can actually submit a document, a Word document into the chat. But if I can't, I'll put that on my website and you can download it from there. My website is www.howardbeatty.com/dimensions of consciousness, all lowercase, no spaces. So
If you want to put that in the chat, then
well, I've put it in the chat already, but I don't know if a document can be put into the chat and opened up.
No, I'm a bit of a Neanderthal.
I've never tried that before. So if not, I've placed it on my website and you can download it from there.
Yeah, I haven't reached the point of Homo sapiens sapien yet as regards this. AI that will beat me into a cocked hat. Okay, who's Fernando? Would you like to speak now? Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Yes, I would. So I don't have anywhere near as much to contribute as most of you. I've had very limited experiences. I have had a time slip and a couple of other things, but not much. But I did have an epiphany that I thought I'd like to share, which may or may not be helpful. I think that things can be simultaneously one thing and another thing at the same time. So many things can be true at once. And I've gone down a lot of rabbit holes trying to understand some elements of consciousness. And in one of those explorations, I tried to understand the theory of relativity and quantum physics to the best of my ability. And then I had a bit of an epiphany, which is very simple. And maybe all of you have had this epiphany, I don't know. But it's this, that Newtonian physics is basically 3D reality. It's very simple. It's what we experience every day. If you run into the wall, it hurts, whether it's there or not. And then you get to Einstein, and suddenly he adds relativity to the concept, which basically, time, space become relative. And simply put, that's the 4th dimension, where time is no longer, as certain as it is in the 3rd dimension, but practically they're very similar. And then you get to quantum physics, with the double slit experiment, the observer effect, and things like quantum entanglement. And really what you're dealing with at that point is the fifth dimension and up, because at that point, it all becomes one, and the time and space cease to exist and become a single point. Anyway, to me, that was really kind of cool. And it kind of made everything make sense for me, because you can look at things from the metaphysical point of view, which I think is phenomenal. And I've tried to do that. But if you can manage to marry it to some extent to the scientific understanding that we have, then it seems to feel a bit more grounded, whether it really is or not. Also, I have the fortunate circumstance of knowing a fair bit about AI. I have my son-in-law is one of the senior analysts at Google. He's in charge of their AI department. And I don't think it's nearly as scary as people think it is. It has tremendous potential for harm, but it's nowhere near as advanced at this point as a lot of people believe. And it's easy to be fooled into thinking that it has consciousness. And even a couple of people at Google came to that conclusion. And I've actually spoken to them, and they just, they get beguiled by it, because it is beguiling the extent to which it's a mirror, basically. And it's a fantastic mirror. But to this point, so far as I'm aware, it's no more than that. It may get to be more than that at some point, but it's not yet. We're still at the 7 nanometer stage for the chips they're using. They're now working on a 2 nanometer chip, which should be available in the next 2 years. That could be the game changer that takes it to the next level and truly makes it scary. But at the level we're at now, I don't believe AI has the capacity to be the danger that we're worried about. It's dangerous in the way it's used more than in and of itself. The primary danger, and my son-in-law is very worried about AI, but his primary worry is the way that it is being used by third parties to basically deep fakes and all kinds of stuff like that. It's very powerful way to fool people, but it's not the AI doing it. It's the human actors taking the AI and making it dangerous. I don't think it in and of itself that it's dangerous, but it's a tool that can be incredibly harmful to society if we're not careful. He's actually working on a plan right now with a whole bunch of other people. They just finished a program at Cambridge called Ethical AI with some of the most influential scientists in the AI space. And they're really worried about the uses for it, but it isn't taking over human consciousness. It's more humans perpetrating all kinds of heinous acts on other humans using AI. And with that, I'll sign off. Thank you.
Okay, Fernando, thank you. So you make the point that it's a tool, and it's how people use the tool. And yeah, I guess that's where the concern is, about how people use the tool and how advanced the tool may become. But it's not there yet, if I understand you correctly.
Yes. So right now it's pretty powerful, but the next evolution, which they're currently working on, which is, like I said, a 2 nanometer chip. So the biggest problem with AI right now is the power usage and the amount of processing power that they currently have. So all AI right now is working on an architecture that was developed for gaming. There is no current chip that's AI specific. They're working on it. So the chip they're currently working on will, like I said, will be a 2 nanometer chip, and it'll be about the size of a dinner plate and have its own internal cooling and use far less energy and be far more effective in terms of the processing power, like a multiple, which will make quantum computing much more of a reality. And it will be a game changer. But the hope is that by the time we get there, which is about 2 years away, we will have evolved ethically to maybe be able to handle it better, hopefully.
Hopefully. Yeah, thank you, Fernando. I share your hope. Okay, who wants to speak? Okay, I'm not getting a response, so what I'll do is I'll go around and call people's names out one by one, and if anyone wishes to speak, that'll be the prompt. If you don't wish to speak, that's fine too. Jan, you've got your camera on, so I'm going to ask you first. Jan, have you anything to contribute or say on this? You're on mute at the moment.
Yeah, no, not really. I'm just taking it all in.
Yeah, okay. That's fine.
My first meeting, so I'm just
Yeah. All
taking it
right then.
all in. Okay, thanks anyway.
All right. Thanks, Joan. Um, okay, I'll move on. I'm going to invite Tony. Is there anything that you wish to say on this? Do you have a view on it?
Um, it was very informative for me, very much so. Um, what I do have a question is if ETs are looking at us and watching us, and I know they're watching us in a sense because we haven't had a nuclear war yet as we speak, because we have two wars going on right now. And my question is, will there be the possibility that they will stop? Anything happens here? Because I'm sorry, I apologize to the Americans, but I think Trump is crazy. And I really believe that. I could see him push the button because he was in a bad mood. So I'm just more concerned that will they be able to turn around and say, hey, you know, do something with that.
Okay, so your question is whether ETs will intervene in the case of nuclear missiles being fired. Have I
Yes.
understood that correctly?
Yes, you're correct. Yes.
Okay. I can see Howard has raised his hand quite quickly. I think he has a response information on that, don't you, Howard?
Yes, in my discussion with several races of ETs and the Galactic Federation representatives, we've received the following information. ETs operate under what we've heard of in Star Trek as called the Prime Directive. Their prime directive is that they will not interfere with anything that humans freely choose to do. We have free will, we can choose to do anything, but they will not interfere except there has now been placed a universal ban by Creator. Creator has decreed that nuclear weapons may not be used to kill other humans. Now, that's not to say that nuclear energy is banned. We can develop, nuclear power plants and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
but we just cannot. In fact, we've already seen the results of ETs completely disabling nuclear weapons and the ICBM silos that launch nuclear weapons. They have the ability to control whether nuclear weapons are used. And it's amazing to me that our ICBMs have been deactivated and then reactivated, and so have the Russians and the Chinese. I don't know about the Iranians or the Israelis or whoever else, but they have the ability to do that. So I'm not worried about destroying other humans with nuclear weapons, but we evidently still have our own free will to bomb the hell out of them if we want to.
Okay, Howard, is the difference that the nuclear weapons threatens oh
The solar system.
the fabric of the universe?
Well,
Is that the difference?
Yeah.
not the universe, but the difference is that nuclear weapons have the ability to destroy the energetic essence of souls in a local area, not globally or universally, but wherever they're detonated. So that's why Creator has said no to the use of nuclear weapons to harm other humans.
Okay, okay.
Hmm.
That's already happened at Hiroshima and
Yes, and it was
yeah.
because of that that this ban has been decreed.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Howard. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Tony?
No, that was it. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Thank you.
Do you think they're walking amongst us, Tony? Oh, are you still there?
Oh, yes. No, I'm still
Yeah.
here. Yes, I
Okay.
definitely believe, I do believe that.
All right.
I do believe that.
Thank you. Thank you, Tony.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going around checking who wants to, who has something to say about this. Joe, I can see you with your camera on. Do you have a comment that you wish to make, Joe?
Only to add really to what other people have said. I'm in contact with various galactic groups, some of which are still here. There are races that live below the surface of Earth and have done for a very long period of time. And so my answer would be yes, there are other races that walk amongst us. That's my
All right. Yeah.
limited experience, yes. And I would also agree with the idea that nuclear weapons, you know, the detonation of nuclear weapons energetically will go out into the universe and affect other planets, other races. So what we do on Earth is carefully observed, shall we say.
Yeah.
Because energy can be destructive. So I think they would intervene in that sort of situation because it has other ramifications beyond us destroying ourselves in the greater sort of galaxy.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. A question, an associated question has come into my head as you've just been talking there. I've been aware of occasions where it's been clear that extraterrestrial beings have the ability to morph into another form, into a human form, for example. And this throws an extra ingredient into the question, if you like, do you walk amongst us? I don't really have a question to ask about that. I just wanted to bring the point forward and point out that I've encountered this on numerous occasions through different sources. So anyway, and as has come up before in this discussion, you know, we may well say that we are ETs. You know, our heritage is extraterrestrial. Our heritage may well be others. So, in that sense, it's not so much about humanity on Earth and other species out there in space. It's more to do with humanity being members of species that are out there in space, and we're just reaching the point of becoming more aware of that. Anyway, that's that's one comment I wanted to make. Okay, then, where we got to? Thank you. There's one person that's next on the screen that as I'm looking at is named User, and I believe your name is Edna. Edna, if you wish to speak or if you have comments to make, please unmute yourself and speak up when you're ready. And for those that are listening and do want to speak, I'll be going around each of the names that are left here, and you'll be invited to speak if you wish. Okay, and so I'll move on and ask Nina, do you wish to make any comments on this?
Yes, hello. I was thinking about this hybrid thing actually, that some people are already they're thinking that humans have been long gone from planet Earth, that we are all hybrids now. So that's just one thought that.
Yes, so maybe a more valid question is, are we already hybrids? Are we becoming, are we going into a different level of being hybrid?
Yeah. And then about all this, are they amongst us? Yes. I mean, because I come from this mediumship background in a way, and so many mediums that are contacting loved ones in the spirit, they also encounter aliens, and some people that have been taken on board, they also have seen their loved ones in spirit there. So they are in the same maybe frequency or dimension. So aliens and spirit world.
Yeah.
So there is some kind of connection there.
Sure. As one of the people talking about earlier about light beings, from our perception, when some of these extraterrestrial beings have a higher vibration, and some of, for instance, angelic beings or guides are light beings. In fact, I'm quite active in a capacity of working on spirit release, helping people to clear up their energy field, and light beings come forward. Usually guides or angelic beings, occasionally extraterrestrial beings. They contribute. From our perception, the point I'm trying to make is that they're all light beings.
Yeah, we are light, basically.
Yeah.
We are just the stardust, if you like. I mean,
Yes. I suppose my own view is, yes, we are all light. We've incarnated into a physical human body. We've come into a restricted version of ourselves where we lose memory of who we are, and where we have the challenge of trying to make sense of human life and rediscover ourselves. Anyway, that's one perception of it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you. Okay. I'm looking at initials HB. If there is something that you wish to say or contribute, you can. You don't need to turn your camera on if you don't wish to, but you're welcome to. Oh, hello. Thank you.
So yesterday I went to another meetup Chinese session, and I don't have any alien or UFO experiences, but I've been exposed to some paranormal activities. Speaking of walking among these entities, I many years ago in Beijing, I met this lady. Well, she has been to Vancouver too. She has been to Vancouver in the US. She has lots of clients. And she always talks about the psychic and the medium. They're American terms. In China, they don't have these terms, psychics, mediums. They might just call masters. Masters. So this lady always talks about this master. So once we lost contact, and she happened to be visiting Vancouver, and I don't know how she found out I was in Vancouver, and she asked someone, a mutual friend of ours, for my social media account. And also another story was a woman I never met read my blog entry about this lady, this fortune teller. So she drove from Sichuan to Beijing for a reading. And after the reading, she called me. She said the reading was not accurate at all. It was completely off. But still I left her 2,000 RMB. And all of a sudden, this lady called me. She said, this lady called the woman. She said, if you don't like the reading, if you think the reading is not accurate, you can come back to me. I can give you another reading. So later, I talked to this fortune teller. I talked to Madame Zhao, and I asked her, how was that a coincidence or what? And she said she probably heard a message from the master to call this person. And when she was visiting Vancouver, she found out my social media account through a mutual friend of ours. Also because master asked her to call me because I was starting out. I was in a very critical situation. I needed help.
Did you
And
find
another psychic medium in Manhattan, New York City, this guy had the same narratives. He said sometimes he could hear this message from the spirit to call this person because this person needs help. So I think there might be some energies among us, but I don't have any.
Possibly the key thing that occurs to me is whether it does help,
And
whether
another
it is
story,
helpful to you.
another story is very eerie. There
Yeah.
was this guy in China, very high profile. This guy had verified supernatural abilities, and he died at the age of 58. And once I was visiting him with my cousin. It was very mysterious, complex, belonging to China's KGB. So a doctor was giving him medical exams once in a while. And I had a relative who was working with the doctor who gave him medical exam. That's why I had the opportunity to visit him at his home. And this guy had a crush on my cousin. And after a few days, my cousin was on a business trip in Shanghai, and this guy called my cousin at a hotel.
I feel quite wary when I hear of psychics or mediums chasing after people.
So
I think that's what you're describing to me.
Right.
The phenomena is real. You talk about people with supernatural abilities. We all have supernatural abilities, including you. It's healthier when we recognize our own power rather than people that. It sounded to me like people chasing around, finding you.
I'm just curious that all these people are always talking about, I hear this message from spirit, from my master, different terms in different cultures. In China, they always say, I hear this message from my master. Ask me to help this person, to help him.
The key thing is intention and how come they're contacting you. I'd be a little wary of all that. I support people owning their own power, and I'm not sure that's happening when you describe that kind of activity.
Okay, so I'm really curious about these energies.
Yeah, I'm sure the energies are valid enough. I would imagine so. Yes, it's the purpose that is applied to them. That's ooh. Okay, HB. Okay, well,
that's my stories to share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a lot more stories. I included in my folklore course.
Yeah.
And the students love those stories. Stories from China, Japan, Thailand, Scandinavian countries, and the
Yeah.
US.
Yes, I hear you. Oops, so you've gone again. I hear you. Um, I'm aware of a wealth of experience around me on this call. Is there anything else that anybody feels needs to be said to HB that will help him?
I could comment. HB was at our meeting in person yesterday. We had a medium parneet, and we're talking about him doing another in-person meeting in Surrey, BC, where it is. So thanks for sticking around, HB. We'll book another meetup in person.
Oh, it's good to know that there are people around that you can turn to that may be able to offer you some support or some wisdom. Yet, I do feel very wary of psychic mediums are contacting people and saying, I can help you, I can help you. Okay, then, HB, thank you. Thank you. We'll move on. June, would you like to speak?
No, thank you. I'm
Okay, then, June, that's fine. You're welcome. Taylor, would you like to speak? Okay, Taylor, I see your message. You haven't got a mic, so that's not going to help. Thank you. Um, Julie, would you like to speak?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. More on the lighter note, like I've been hearing, like sometimes channelers are saying like, I mean, channelers or sorry, channeling like their messages saying like, many times I heard this concern, like, oh, if we showed up, you will be traumatized or like you'll be shocked or something like that, you know? Have you heard?
Well, if what happens, you'll be traumatized or shocked. Well, if extraterrestrials turn up, is that
Yeah,
what you're saying? Yeah.
yeah, I heard. But I
Um.
thought of, well, I gave it a thought, and I just thought that if they knock, or is like some in between, like say if they knock or like sending some signals, and if we say yes, then we wouldn't be as surprised as they are concerned. And I hope that they know that. So, well, for example, I did have an encounter too, which I wasn't surprised because they felt like kids and they just were curious. I was surprised that I was not surprised, but then I was thinking afterwards, if they weren't kids, I would have been traumatized. And I was thinking, it's simple solution, just knock, and the other person says yes, come through. Then we wouldn't be as traumatized as we like. That was just my brainstorm, and I hope someone in between us and them can just tell us, everyone, just listen, humans, we don't just accept guests. We have a door and they knock and they answer. And I think that way nobody will be as traumatized as they are concerned. If they are, well, I have no ability to tell them. I can only send my telepathy, whatever. I'm not a medium. So I just thought that would be an idea. If can
Yeah.
anyone can just do it, just go ahead and do that. Because I don't want to. I would love them. I would love them, but I'm like maybe just knock. Then
Okay. Julie, what I will say is that over the last few years, in particular, there does seem to have been a sort of very gradual awareness of extraterrestrial beings, of UFOs, UAPs, that's growing and growing. And my understanding is that this is part of an intentional program on their behalf to um, to avoid the shock, to allow us to gradually become aware of them and gradually what's the word, assimilate, or no, I'm not sure that's the right word, gradually
Acclimate.
yeah, yeah, acclimatize to their the reality of them and their presence. So I think that's kind of in hand, as I understand it. Yes, yeah, there are people. First time I had it, I was shock for me, but things changed following that. And it's a human reaction. Interestingly, one of the a session I held once, we were asking about this, what their view of humanity was, and as a mantis being, that's referred to our how difficult it is to connect with us because we go into a fear mode so easily and so quickly. In fact, they described it as like one of those crazy bouncing balls that you throw at the floor, and it bounces high and wide, high and wide and out of control. And so, from their perspective, they're saying that it's actually difficult for them to engage with us. So, consequently, there seems to be this program of gradual acclimatization to the reality of them. That's my understanding. I guess there's people present that have their own stories regarding that as well. Okay. Thank you, Julie. Neha, I think you're the only one that I haven't invited to speak as yet. Neha, are you there? Is there anything that you'd like to say?
Yeah, hi, I am here and sorry, I took some time to get off mute. But this session was very interesting. This is my first time listening to real experiences. I have always been fascinated. Um, I I had one question hearing all of the experiences. Um, is d Does anyone here who has had these experiences think that there is something needed on a conscious level in a human to have these experiences, or is it just like, is the selection just random?
Oh, do you mean people that's been contacted? Is it a
Yes.
random event or is it planned? In my case, it was planned. I guess the answer is both. Is my guess, but it's only a guess on my part.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's an intention. If you imagine us all being souls, and as been said earlier, there are souls that incarnate into extraterrestrial life forms. There's souls that incarnate into human life forms. Yet we are all souls. Um, then I forgot what I was saying now. Um, then there is an awareness of the developments on planet Earth and the energy changes and the um, opportunity for growth at this point in the development of Mother Earth and life forms on Mother Earth. So I think there's been quite a lot of interest and some planning, and yet we also have free will. We can screw up if we want to,
Mm-hmm.
and we do. But there again, we get it wrong so many times. Eventually, we get it right. So. Um, I don't know if anyone else wants to comment on that or has a different view.
I was just going to say, as we're asking them to keep an open door, we keep an open door too. I do believe that
Yeah.
they walk amongst us, and I'm quite fascinated by the talk about the Venusians because I'd read a lot about Valiant Thor, and I thought I bumped into him a few weeks ago on my way to work.
Oh.
And so that was what was coming into my head. So it was interesting why I'd come to this meeting tonight. And I wonder if that was validation on that, because I was thinking about this chap, and it was the centre of Edinburgh about, I think, 5:45 in the morning. I was going to work. And there was a chap there. And when I'd read the books, I had an image of him in my head as to what he looked like. And that was the image of the chap that I saw. So that was a nice ending for me.
Okay. So the little synchronicities there. You see the book, you see a chap, you're at this meeting where we're talking about it.
Well, it actually had in my dreams.
Oh, right,
I
I
think,
see.
had actually gone in as well
Okay.
to spaceships and had been connecting with them. And I think in the groups that we've done, Dave, it's come in a few times. So it was quite. I feel as though I've come a circle just now,
All
or
right,
I've
I see.
connected
Yeah.
somewhere. There's been a bit of synchronicity there. So thank you for that. That was very
Okay. Thank you.
lovely for me to connect.
Okay. Brian, I think we'll probably wrap up with you if if you've
Well,
got
I
a
was
comment
just
to make.
responding to the question. Yeah, I think generally it is planned when there's ET contact or abduction. It's quite planned. Like in Susie Hanson's book, she describes the three waves of souls, the most thorough description of it. She says, no, these are three waves of souls coming into incarnation to Earth to help out. But it's meticulously planned, very thorough. She just struggles to understand it. So I think they very thoroughly work out their relationships with humans. So ET contact, I think, is generally planned. And Grant Cameron said, if you see a UFO, then you're probably part of the game. But having said that, there could be accidents like somebody's with someone who's an experiencer and they get taken too. So the kind of a random thing that could probably happen too.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, I've known of groups of four in a car, where one in particular has a strong connection, yet the other three didn't appear to. Yet they were all they're all part of the same encounter. Okay, thank you, everybody. I hope you found this interesting and valuable and informative. And if what I'm understanding, Alfred's going to host one next week. It won't be on this Zoom link. Uh, that Zoom link will be shown via Meetup, I guess. And again, Alfred, would you just give us the title of your Zoom next week?
Well, I'm going to let Brian give that because I must confess that I'm juggling so many different things now that
Okay.
I overlook that. So over to you, Brian.
Yeah, I can actually do a share screen here. So here's our meetup. And there it is right there. Intelligent extraterrestrial civilizations on Venus and on Mars.
Okay.
So there's a description right
Oh,
there.
is that already up next?
Oh yeah, you've already got 20, how many people coming? 23 people signed up.
Okay. Well, I will then. That's next weekend on the 27th.
Yeah, we can change the time, like you said.
No,
We can
no,
change
no, no. I will leave that and I will change the time of my Zoom for the tribunal and AI. So
What's up to you?
Okay. I've been focused on that and I didn't realize that we were at the 27th already next Sunday. So thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Alfred. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming forward. Thanks for everything. Yeah. Sorry, Tony's making a point. Can you please resend the meetup for next week?
Yeah, well, the link to the meetup is at the top of the chat. I put it right there. Like first you go to the meetup group, and once you join, then you have access to the Zoom link. It's already there, and everything's free. Like I pay for the whole meetup site. Don't ask for donations. So you just join the Vancouver UFO and prepare for ET contact. If you can't see the link up there, I can put it in again right now. Actually, if that's easier for people.
Yeah, could you please?
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat right now. Okay. Yeah, so there it is in the chat. Just join the meetup and join us next week. And we're going to have ongoing sessions. Hopefully, Dave will book another one a month from now. Yeah.
Yes, I was thinking of, dear extraterrestrial beings, are you here to assist us or exploit us?
That'll get a lot of
for
conversation
horizon.
going. Exploit us, yeah. Give both sides. We can have a debate.
Sure.